Once upon a time, in a faraway village called Besiase, lived a young man named Paul. He wasn't rich, no. Paul was just a simple mechanic, always with grease on his hands, always under somebody's broken down car. But if you asked him what mattered most, it wasn't cars, it wasn't money, it was Essie. Essie, the village jewel. Her skin shimmered like fresh honey in the sun. Even the elders would pause their chewing stick just to watch her hips sway as she passed. And Paul, he worshipped the ground her feet touched. Each day, without fail, he fetched water for her before sunrise, washed her clothes with his bare hands, mended her mother's leaking roof, and saved every penny to buy her gifts. Little things like beads, coconut candy, or slippers. When Essie's mother fell ill, Paul worked double shifts, skipped his meals, and borrowed money just to buy her medication. He gave everything. But the village people watched and whispered, "Hey, look at this boy, doing all this for a girl who doesn't even call him boyfriend. This is husband work. Oh, and yet he hasn't even seen her ankle in marriage." His friends? They mocked him openly. "Paul, open your eyes. You're digging a well in someone else's farm." They laughed. "Essie's just using you." But Paul believed, with a quiet, foolish kind of faith. "Essie told me she's not ready for love," he would say, wiping sweat from his brow. "She said she needs time, and when the time is right, she'll be mine." So he waited, year after year. He waited through harmattan dust and rainy seasons. His love never dimmed, it only grew deeper. He had tied his future to a hope with Essie's name on it. But love, when misplaced, can be the cruelest form of hunger. One day, just as the sun dipped low behind the Besiase hills, Essie was returning from the stream, a clay pot perched effortlessly on her head. Suddenly, a sleek black SUV burst around the bend, kicking up red dust and nearly knocking her off balance. "Hey, are you mad?" she shouted, trying to steady the water. The tinted window rolled down, and there he was, Eric, city slick hair, designer sunglasses, teeth like polished cowrie shells. He grinned. "My apologies, beautiful. I didn't mean to scare you," he said, voice smooth like melted toffee. Essie blinked. Her anger melted into shyness. "Beautiful." She heard it loud and clear. Her heart did a little dance. Where are you from?" she asked shyly. Eric leaned on the car door. "Accra. I just came for a quick visit. My uncle's funeral." Essie giggled nervously. "Oh, sorry. For your loss." "Thanks. But hey, you got a phone?" Essie's eyes widened. No, my mom hasn't allowed me to get one yet." Eric chuckled, shaking his head. Village girls, always innocent. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a sleek phone, and handed it to her. "Here, take this. My number's inside. Call me anytime." Her mouth dropped open. "You're giving me your phone?" "Why not?" Eric winked. "A girl as pretty as you shouldn't be hard to reach." She watched as he drove off, dust trailing behind him, her hands still trembling around the phone. Later that evening, Paul showed up, as usual, with water buckets. "Essie, here's the water," he said, sweating and smiling. Essie barely looked up. Thanks, Paul." Her eyes were on the phone. Paul frowned. "Essie, who gave you this phone?" She smiled slyly. "A friend." Paul's heart sank. "A friend?" "Yes." She stood up, twirling the phone. "His name's Eric. He's from the city." Paul stared at her, the water bucket suddenly feeling heavier than ever. "Essie, don't tell me you like this guy." No. He's just a friend, and he's just being kind," Essie said, raising her hand defensively. Paul's heart sank, but he didn't say anything more. That day changed everything. The days that followed felt like a slow knife twisting inside Paul's chest. Everywhere he turned, he saw Essie and Eric, laughing under the mango tree, riding in that shiny SUV, walking side by side like a movie couple. Kwame pulled him aside one afternoon. "Paul, you still they carry water go her house? You dey disgrace we boys. In fact, the brotherhood is ashamed of you. You know, see, she done move on. Paul wiped his greasy hands on his overalls. She's just excited. Eric won't stay. He's from the city. He'll leave. Kwame shook his head, frustrated. Ah, Paul, open your eyes. She know they see you again, oh. You be like wallpaper to her. But Paul didn't want to believe it. He clung to hope like a drowning man holding a tiny stick. Until one hot Sunday afternoon, Paul was walking past the old school building, toolbox in hand, when he heard soft giggles from behind the wall. Curious, he peeped around, and there they were, Essie in Eric's arms, laughing, smiling. Then Eric leaned in and kissed her, long, slow, and deep. Paul froze. His whole world stopped. The sound of the village faded. His heart beat in his ears like drums of war. He stepped back, his breath catching. Essie broke the kiss, smiling up at Eric. I told you Paul's just a brother. Eric smirked. Forget that boy. You belong to me now. Paul stumbled away, his chest burning and his vision blurry. Later that week, he went to Essie's house, hoping, praying that maybe it was a misunderstanding. She came out wrapped in a silk robe, hair tied carelessly, a strange glow in her eyes. She looked like she had stepped into a new life and shut the door behind her. Paul, she began, unable to meet his eyes. For years, I've tried to love you. Truly, I've tried, but I can't. You're like a brother to me. I didn't want to hurt you, but I've moved on. I'm with Eric now. Paul's lips trembled. He stepped closer. Essie, no, I'm not your brother. I love you. After everything we've shared, after all I've done, please, give me just one chance. Let me show you the life you deserve. Essie's eyes turned cold. She folded her arms. Stop right there, she snapped. So you think love is something you can buy? Do you honestly believe we're the same class? You fixed my mother's roof and now you think you've earned my heart? Paul stood in silence. The words sliced through his chest. If you want, calculate everything you've ever spent on me, she said. Eric can pay it all back. I'm not a debt you need to collect. Just stay away from my house and stop embarrassing yourself. And with that, she turned and walked back inside. Paul stood there for minutes, hours maybe. His soul had no more words. His feet finally moved, but his spirit remained behind, shattered, humiliated, and hollow. Even the breeze seemed to whisper, poor Paul. And thus, the boy who gave everything was left with nothing. By morning, the whole village knew. The gossip had already started flying. Ah, did you see Essie kissing that city boy? Poor Paul. After all the suffering. Chai. Did you hear? Essie has a rich man now. Poor Paul. He was only her servant. Paul's friends comforted him with, I told you so's. Children laughed as he walked by chanting after him, one man down, one man down. That evening, as the sun blared orange across the sky, Paul sat quietly outside his workshop, staring at nothing. The tools lay untouched. His hands were still. Then he heard footsteps. Slow, familiar. It was Mama Essie, Essie's mother. Paul, my son, she said gently, sitting beside him on an old bench. I've been looking for you. Paul forced a smile. Good evening, Mama. She sighed deeply, her eyes tired. Paul, I heard what happened. I'm ashamed. My daughter... Paul looked away. It's not your fault, Mama. She placed a hand on his shoulder. You're a good boy, a better man than Eric. That boy, I don't trust him. Paul's lips tightened. Essie loves him. Mama Essie's eyes filled with worry. Love? Ah, that's not love. She's blinded by his money, his fine car. She doesn't see the snake hiding behind that smile. She leaned closer. Paul, promise me something. Don't hate her. Don't let bitterness spoil your good heart. Paul swallowed hard. Mama, I can't hate her, but I can't watch this anymore. Mama Essie nodded slowly. I understand. I tried to warn her, but she won't listen. One day, she'll regret it. Paul stood up, wiping his hands. Thank you, Mama. I'll be okay. As she walked away, she turned back. Paul, may God bless you. May he lift you higher than you ever dreamed. Paul watched sadly as she disappeared into the shadows, a single tear rolling down his cheek. The entire village gathered to see the most lavish wedding they had ever seen. Golden chairs, shimmering fabrics, a band playing songs from the city. Paul watched from a distance. When Eric and Essie kissed under the arch of flowers, something inside Paul broke. That night, under the stars, Paul packed a small bag. No one saw him leave that day. Meanwhile, Mama Essie sat and watched them at the wedding, shaking her head. Essie, one day, you'll remember Paul, she whispered sadly. But by then, Paul was already gone. Accra hit Paul like a slap. The noise, the smoke, the rush. By the time the bus pulled into Circle, the sun was already dipping. He had nowhere to go, no one to call. That night, he curled up on a wooden bench at the station, cold and hungry, but not broken. The next morning, Paul walked, eyes scanning, stomach growling, until he stumbled on a small garage tucked behind a fuel station. He stepped inside. A woman in greasy overalls turned around. You lost? She asked. Paul shook his head. I need work. She raised a brow. From the village, eh? Do you even know how to fix the kind of cars we get here? I learn fast, Paul said. Just give me one shot. She hesitated, then pointed to an old Toyota in the corner. Show me what you've got. Paul didn't speak. He grabbed a spanner, opened the hood, and got to work. 30 minutes later, the engine purred like a cat. From that day, word spread fast. Where's the new guy? Customers asked. That boy fixed my car better than anyone. The woman watched silently. Day after day. 2 years after, she called him into the office. You're not just good, she said. You're smart and loyal. From now on, you're my new manager. Paul couldn't believe it. From sleeping on benches to running a garage in the heart of Accra. He didn't say much. He just looked up and whispered, God, thank you. 30 years. That's how long it had been, and it felt like the blink of an eye. Paul was no longer the skinny village mechanic who once slept on benches. In Accra, he had become a king among men. His name, Paul Mensah, was etched in gold above the gates of P&E Auto Empire, the most luxurious automobile hub in the city. If it wasn't a Lamborghini, Maybach, or Porsche. Paul didn't touch it. From presidents to celebrities, his clientele read like the front page of a newspaper. But beneath the designer suits and the Rolex watches, Paul's soul remained unchanged, humble, focused and thankful. After years of toil, he had gone back to school, earning not just 1, but 2 degrees in automotive engineering. He didn't just fix cars anymore. He designed systems, trained the next generation, and led conferences. And beside him, always, was Esther, the woman who first gave him a chance back when he had nothing. The woman who, instead of sending him away, opened the door of her small garage tucked behind the fuel station at Circle. They were now co-founders of P&E, Paul and Esther Auto Empire. Their 4 children walked in their brilliance. Kobe, the engineer, led innovation at a German car brand. Mami, the educationist, ran a STEM academy for girls in Ghana. Kwame, the pharmacist, owned 3 dispensaries across the country. And then there was Dora, the firebrand human rights lawyer, known for shaking the tables of injustice in courtrooms across West Africa. Life had been good to Paul, but some nights, rare silent nights, when the wind moved softly and the city lights dimmed just enough, Paul would step out onto his balcony. He'd lift his eyes to the moon and remember BC's. And as the breeze carried faint sounds of traffic and laughter below, Paul would smile, not with bitterness, but with the quiet dignity of a man who had lost everything and still won it all. Daddy, Dora said one quiet evening, as they sat under the warm lights of the patio. "There's a woman in Nsawam I want to help. She's been in prison for 12 years, almost blind now." Paul looked up from his tea and smiled at her. His last-born, his firebrand. 12 years? He asked, his tone soft but curious. Dora nodded, eyes heavy with compassion. "Yes, she has 3 more years to go on a 15-year sentence. But I think due to her failing health, she deserves clemency." Paul reached across the table and touched her hand. "You make me proud every day." But after that night, Paul kept having strange, disturbing dreams whenever he slept. In a shadowy corridor, always, her, a hunched figure that looked like an old woman, crying out from the darkness, "Help her, please." Her face was never visible in the dreams, but her presence was haunting. Each time, he would wake up confused and drenched in sweat. Paul could not make sense of the dream. Months passed. Then one bright Friday afternoon, Dora rushed home, her voice high with joy. "Daddy, I did it. Remember the woman I told you about? She's getting clemency. She'll be released soon." Paul turned to her slowly, his heart thudding. "Clemency," he repeated, standing to his feet. But Daddy, she has no one. No family, nothing, not even a bag to carry her clothes," Dora said, her voice trembling with emotion. And in that instant, like a spark in his chest, Paul knew. The dream. This was the woman he was supposed to help. He looked at his daughter, eyes clear now, heart steady. "Tell her," he said slowly, "that I want to give her 50,000 cedis, to start over, to live with dignity again." "Daddy," Dora whispered, stunned, "are you serious?" Without blinking, Paul walked to his desk, pulled out his checkbook, wrote, and handed it over to Dora. The next morning, Dora's voice crackled through Paul's phone, full of excitement. "Daddy," she said, "I told the woman about the money. She says she wants to meet you, just to say thank you." Paul hesitated for a moment, but he was curious about the woman, and so he agreed. "All right," he said, "let's go." The sun was high by the time Paul and Dora arrived at the Nsawam Female Correctional Center. Inside the visitors' room, they waited on a worn wooden bench. The ceiling fan groaned overhead. Then, the steel door opened. A prison warden stepped through, gently guiding a thin, hunched woman with graying hair and dark glasses. She walked slowly, her steps unsure. Her skin was pale, as if the sun hadn't kissed it in years. Paul stood, polite as ever, extending his hand. But then, she removed her glasses, and time stopped. Paul stared, his breath caught halfway through his throat. It was Essie. Her beauty had been stolen by time and looked very old. "Paul," she whispered through her cracked voice, "is it really you?" Paul's lips parted, but no sound came. Then Essie dropped to her knees. "I'm sorry, Paul," she wept. "I'm so sorry." Her shoulders shook with grief. "I should have never. I was foolish. I was blind." She broke into sobs, her hands clasped together, begging for mercy. Dora turned sharply toward her father. "Daddy?" she asked, stunned. You know her?" Paul couldn't speak. His heart was a drum, pounding in his ears. A million memories rushed at him at once. The sting of betrayal and the words, "You can calculate everything you've spent. My boyfriend will settle the bill." And now, here she was, alone in this God-forsaken place. The silence in the room grew heavy. Even the warden looked away. Paul swallowed, his eyes locked on Essie. "I know her," Paul finally whispered. "Once upon a time, I knew her very well." The room was quiet except for the soft hum of the ceiling fan. Through tears, she began to speak. "After we married," she said slowly, "Eric brought me to Accra. At first, life was beautiful. Oh, Paul, you wouldn't believe it. We had fancy cars, a mansion at Trasacco, staff to wait on us. I thought I was living my dream." She paused, wiping her eyes. But that dream soon turned into a nightmare. Her voice broke. Eric changed. He became violent and then he forced me into drug trafficking. Dora's face tightened. On my last trip, Essie continued, they caught me at Kotoka Airport. I was carrying cocaine hidden in hair products. I didn't even know it was that much, but the law didn't care. Paul watched her, his heart silent and still. Eric vanished, she said, her voice dropping. He disappeared like a ghost and blocked my calls. I was left to rot here. I had no one. My mother, she must have died of heartbreak. She died not knowing what happened to me. Then, Essie bowed her head in shame. A silence fell again, heavy, almost sacred. And in that moment, Paul understood. The dream, the crying woman in the shadows. It must have been Mama Essie. Her spirit had come to plead for her daughter. Essie reached out suddenly and grabbed Paul's hands. Her grip was weak but desperate. Paul, she whispered, I threw away gold for dust. You were gold, and I was blind. Please, forgive me. Paul looked at her, truly looked. Gone was the proud village belle. In her place sat a broken woman, stripped of everything but her guilt. Paul closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and gently lifted her from the floor. I forgave you long ago, he whispered. Dora covered her mouth, her eyes glassy with tears. Even the prison warden looked away, swallowing hard. Then Paul turned to his daughter. Dora, he said softly, let's pay for her eye surgery too. Essie gasped, her hands flying to her face. She wept uncontrollably, not out of joy, but shame. Shame that someone she once cast aside now offered her a second chance. As they left the prison, the sun was beginning to set. Paul took one last look back. Essie sat quietly on the bench, her hands folded, rocking gently. He watched as she whispered to herself, my mother warned me. She told me I would regret this. Paul closed his eyes. When he opened his eyes, he thought he saw a ghostly figure of Mama Essie smiling as she whispered thank you and disappeared. Once upon a time, in a faraway village in Besiese, a young mechanic gave his heart freely, and though it was shattered in the end, he healed not just himself, but the very one who broke him. The moral of the story is, true love and kindness never go to waste, even when they are unappreciated in the moment. Chasing wealth and appearances over genuine love can lead to regret, while patience, hard work, and compassion are eventually rewarded. Forgiveness can heal even the deepest wounds of the past. The story teaches not to take good people for granted, that money and status can fade, but character lasts, and it's never too late to seek forgiveness or to show grace. Hi fam, click the link on the right to dive into yet another captivating tale. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button. Until next time, it's bye from us at Apenthene African Stories.